Alright, hey everyone, Noah Walker here with my video series Accumulated Knowledge, and we're playing another match of Grixis Delver against Storm, here for Team Cardhoarder, and I'm playing against a friend and very good Storm player, Caleb Scherer. Been getting crushed pretty much these past couple matches. Hopefully this one goes a little bit better. I think this matchup is alright. Alright, so he's on the play, kept his 7. Again, knowing that he was playing Storm, I would honestly strongly consider keeping this hand. It has all of the cards that are very good against Storm. Has Counter Magic, has Cabal Therapy and Probe, has Young Pyromancer, has some cantrips, has multiple copies of Counter Magic. So like, it really stings to have to mulligan a hand like this just because it doesn't have a land. But I think that, like, you know, generally blind, that this is just a really unkeepable hand. So I'm gonna play it fair, just mulligan. This hand's not very much better. The only land is a wasteland. But if we do draw a blue source, then it has Spell Pierce, which is really powerful in this matchup, and Daze, and Deathrite Shaman's actually pretty okay too. It sucks that it has the Dismember, but I'm gonna keep this one. Delver going straight to the bottom. So yeah, just hoping that can maybe draw a good nice, you know, C, maybe a fetch land. Pretty ideal, you know, get some Deathrite stuff going on. Alright, Island Ponder. That is fine. Oh, this hand is really poopy. It just doesn't do anything. But that's okay. Felt like going to 5 is, you know, basically a concession, so. Valk is pretty lucky. Now we have the Spell Pierce up. We can cast Brainstorm on our next main phase if we want to find a black source. So the reason not to cast Brainstorm at end of turn or anything like that, sometimes it's the correct play. But here specifically, why it's right to wait until our next main phase is because we'll be 1 card deeper in our deck, which lets us, you know, be 1 card deeper for our Brainstorm, and also we'll have our land to play, so we can draw for our turn, play Brainstorm, put 2 cards back. If we draw a fetch land, shuffle them away, and then we'll be pretty in a really good spot, as opposed to casting an end of turn Brainstorm, not hitting a fetch land, putting 2 cards back, and not being able to shuffle, and basically Brainstorm locking ourselves out of the game. So that's why, you know, you'll hear Legacy players talk about wait as long as you can for your Brainstorms, which is really, you know, really valuable thing to do. You only want to cast a Brainstorm when you pretty much have to. So, all right, we drew Polluted Delta, which makes me want to fire off the Brainstorm here, just because we have some cards in our hand that could be much better, especially against Storm. So I'm just gonna fire off it. Alright, Probe is a pretty nice one to have. It'll let us decide this turn whether or not we have to keep up the Deathrite Shaman, or if we can cast the Deathrite Shaman, or if we have to keep the Spell Pierce. So I think that I'm going to shuffle back Dismember and Wasteland. Just going to crack the Delta now, because I don't think I want either of those cards particularly much in this matchup. Then pay 2 life for a Probe. Alright. So I'm pretty happy that we had that Probe, because knowing this hand is super valuable. So it's Infernal X2, Brainstorm, add Cabal X2. So if next turn he just untaps, let's say cast Brainstorm with just having the Misty up, then I'm definitely going to Spell Pierce it. Because if he can sculpt a hand from this hand, you know, being able to put 2 cards back and then crack the Misty, then I feel like we're pretty far behind. But if he just is stuck with having all of these clunky cards in his hand, then it'll be hard for us to lose. So really good to have the information with the Probe here. just gonna pass, leaving that Pierce up. So it sucks that he knows about the Spell Pierce, because then maybe he'll consider not just casting the Brainstorm here. But he definitely, he has to do something. So, ooh, okay, he drew another Misty. So we know his hand is 2 Infernals, 2 Cabals, the Brainstorm, and Ad Nauseam. Not the greatest of hands. I'm just going to probe again. So the reason that I'm probing before I cast Ponder is I just want to get a little bit deeper. Maybe find something like a Cabal therapy would be ideal. I'll Ponder. So there I was thinking about whether or not it was better to fire off, to fire off the Ponder or just cast a couple creatures. Like if you could cast Delver and Deathrite and then have the Delta up with Spell Pierce or something like that. But I think that it's a little bit better to do it this way, in case we found the therapy that we were looking for there. But Force of Will is actually a pretty nice pickup, so I'm not going to shuffle. And we kind of wanted to crack this fetch anyways, just so that we could cast Spell Pierce. So it's fine to shuffle away the stuff that won't flip Delver. Alright, Brainstorm end of turn. Definitely going to Spell Pierce that. I'll just get another Underground Sea. And fire off the Spell Pierce. So, even though, so we know his hand is two Infernal Tutors, 2 Cabal Rituals, and the Ad Nauseam. So it might even be worth it to cast something like the Daze here on this Brainstorm, just so that he can't, just like go off. But it just doesn't, it feels kind of risky to me. Because next turn he can cast what? He can cast Cabal Ritual, gets 5 black. Cast another Cabal Ritual, turns that 5 into 8 black. So he's 8 black and 1. He could play Ad Nauseam with 2 Infernal Tutors in hand, and that can maybe get him somewhere. I just don't want to leave, our forces like completely down by casting this Daze. So I think that letting the Brainstorm resolve here is alright. Alternatively, we could have just not cast the Spell Pierce on the Brainstorm initially, but I think that him being able to choose what to shuffle away with the fetch lands is like way too valuable to just let him have like that. So, but this is fine. So his hand is 2 Infernals, 2 Cabals, and an Ad Nauseam that we know about. I'm just gonna exit that out because he cast a Brainstorm, so we don't know exactly what's in his hand, but we have like a good guess with those cards being the ones. Cabal Ritual, yep. So right now he knows about the Daze. He doesn't know about the Force Will though. So if he tries to go off here, we can just Force Will. Drew a Duress, which is horrible for us. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. It's gonna take our force. So I mean, maybe it was correct to Daze the Brainstorm. Like, just make sure it doesn't happen. I don't know. It just felt to me like the only real way to win that game is him not having a discard spell. And then we just catch him off guard with, oh, the one card he doesn't know about, it's Force of Will to go along with a blue card. So maybe it was, a little wrong to just assume that we'd be able to get away with sneaking past the Forcible, I guess, but I think it might end up costing us this game. So he put top with the Ponder, but he did shuffle, so there's that at least. Whew. Another Cabal Ritual. Okay, so he has a lot of black mana. He did get to shuffle away at least one card, so he probably chose that. Maybe Ad Nauseam? I don't know. So far we know. Okay. His hand probably consists of, maybe it's 2 Infernal Tutors here. Infernal Tutor, Ad Nauseam. Ooh, that was a really tight play. So he Cabal Therapied himself, naming the Ad Nauseam, so that he could cast Infernal Tutor without, getting the Ad Nauseam. Storm seems to be way enough. Yeah, we're only at 14, so Storm only has to be 7. Just gets the Tendrils, casts it, and kills us. Alright, so, man. This game really felt like we could possibly be pretty far ahead, Had a bunch of counter magic, just was about to start beating in with the Delver, had a Deathrite Shaman, but she's just too powerful for us. He had the discard spells, multiple. Maybe it was wrong to let that Brainstorm resolve. I'm still honestly not really sure. Like, if the Brainstorm hits, like, pretty much air, like, not a discard spell specifically, then I think that just coasting with the Force of Will is enough. But maybe it was just worth it to cast the Daze. I don't know. It's really tough. This is a really tough matchup to navigate sometimes. Because it's possible that he could have almost anything in his hand. So, yeah, this Tendril is going to kill us. I'm just going to concede this game and move on to the sideboard. Alright, so I'm just going to board basically the same way that I've been boarding in this matchup. Out comes the 2 Gurmags, the Bolts and the Dismember. In comes Engineered Explosives, the 2 Pyroblasts, the Therapy, and the Surgicals. And just hope that this one goes a little bit better. Maybe on the play. Alright. So this hand's definitely a keep. Has some counter magic, has a Surgical Extraction, has some cantrips, even has a probe in case we find a Therapy. So this hand's a pretty easy keep. Alright. So turn around, I'm just going to ponder. I think I'm going to grab. Kind of want to grab Volcanic Island first, so that next turn we can cast Ponder before we fetch land to find, like, the Therapy or something. So, like, the reason to fetch up Underground Sea first would be if we had, like, a Deathrite Shaman or something. But since we're going to be using our first land a lot, I think it's better to fetch up the red source first, because we're looking for specifically Cabal Therapy. Alright. Honestly, these cards are all really good. Brainstorm, definitely the least good. We definitely want Daze, we definitely want Pyromancer, so I would not like to shuffle. So this ended up pretty great, I'd say. Get to cast the Pyromancer, get to probe him, take a look at what he's working with. And we have multiple counter spells and a Surgical Extraction. Alright, so his hand is Cabal Writ, empty, tutor, Petal X2. Volk C. Cabal Ritual, empty. Infernal Tutor, 2 petals of Volcanic Island and an Underground Sea. Okay, his hand is pretty unimpressive. It looks like he's just hoping for like an early empty the Warrens. Honestly, next turn if he just like tries to play the second petal, like let's say he plays 1 petal and then he tries to play the second petal, then I'm strongly considering dazing it. Oh, he drew Ponder. That is okay, I think. Alright, shuffled away with the Ponder. Clearly was not what he was looking for. Alright, cracks a Delta. A second Ponder. So we know his hand is Cabal Ritual, empty the Warrens, a Tutor, 2 petals, and this turn he played the Volk, so he's a C in hand, I think. So I'm just going to daze this one. I'll bounce the C because it's better in case we draw something, you know, discard spell. And we have Fledistran anyways, so should be good. It's actually Ponder shuffled into a Ponder. So his 6 cards that we know about, he's firing off the petals. Or he just decided to fire off 1 petal, which makes sense. Alright. Ponder time. Ponder feels a little risky because it's the only thing that we have for, you know, the Force of Will, but I think it's worth it to just dig a little deeper. So his hand is Petal. I think he has a C still. Empty, Cabal Ret, Tutor. Force, Brainstorm. And a land. Alright, yeah, this is an easy top. So put Volk first, then Brainstorm, then Force of Will. We want to pitch the Force to our Force. If it comes to that, just because I think that it's our best bet. Gonna play the Wasteland. And by that I mean it's our best bet at having, you know, the best good cards left in our deck. You know, if we keep the Brainstorm and then we have to pitch that to the Force of Will, then that's much worse than having a Brainstorm on top of our deck with a fetch land in our hand. So yeah. So I think he has the C in his hand. I'm actually gonna scroll up to see what land he cast last turn. Or sorry, not cast. So he played he did play the Volk last turn, so he does have a C in his hand. So I'm just gonna kill the Volk here. So his hand is Petal, Cabal Ritual, C, empty the Warrens. And a Tutor. Alright. So I think that this one deserves a Force. We could let it resolve, but then he just gets to cast a bunch of spells and then play an empty for a lot, so we know that his hand is just play the C, just play the Cabal Writ. So we know empty the Warrens, Tutor, and Lotus Petal, and 1 card we don't know about. And this turn we can fire off this Brainstorm, start shuffling away some of these excess lands. This game's looking alright. Doesn't seem like he can just kill us anytime soon, but if he can fire off a big empty, then that's not fantastic either. So, all right, a daze and a probe will actually be kind of helpful. Put these two back, play this fetch land, crack it, get a C, pay 2 life for the probe. Hopefully we just get something like therapy, make it super easy. Alright, so his last card is Delta. So his hand does a whole lot of nothing, actually. He can make maximum of like 4 1/1s next turn, so that's pretty bad. Ooh, so since he is polluted Delta as his only other land, actually, no, that's not worth it. So what I was thinking is that I could surgical extraction the Delta. That way he can't cast the empty, but that's actually just wrong because he can just play the pedal and then empty anyways. So if I had done the play that I was thinking about doing, it would have ended up being horrible because he would have gotten 2 more elementals. But it's all right. It's always good to think through all your options. This game is looking pretty great, though. All right, so his hand is empty, tutor, pedal. If I daze this, then he just pays, sacks the pedal later. Okay, yeah, I have to let that resolve. Plays the pedal. Sacks for red. Empties for 6 tokens. Okay. So that's pretty fine. Not a whole lot we can do about it, so. Now he's the same number of tokens as us. Alright, cracks the Delta. Alright, so he's firing off Infernal Tutor here. It's definitely something that I want to daze. Just because I'm not sure what he's going to get with this Infernal Tutor. I don't really know what he could get that could punish us too badly here, so maybe I should just let it resolve. But using the daze here is basically, the best chance that we'll ever have to use the daze, because it just 100% gets something from him. Makes him sack the pedal. We find out whatever he has. So yeah, I'm just going to daze it. Generally, generally, I think that saving daze could be more valuable in this matchup, but we know that he doesn't have anything in his hand. I can't think of anything fantastic that he could get from it, and only use 3 mana for it. So if he gets anything that's already in his graveyard, we could surgical it. He sacks the pedal to pay for it, I just don't know what he could be getting here. I almost want to cast Surgical on, Ponder or Dark Ritual just to see what he's getting. I'm just really curious. Okay, so we got LED. I guess he got LED because it gives him, the best chance to win, from no cards in hand. All right, untap. Ooh, that's a great draw. Start getting on the clock fast. I think I'm just gonna keep back the Young Pyromancer for now. He'll probably only block with 5 tokens, just so that he can keep the Young Pyromancer at bay. But this game is definitely looking great for us. Oh, he ended up blocking with 6. I guess it's basically, the same math either way. Fire off Deathrite. Play the Valk he knows about, and just pass. I can't really think of anything he could draw here that would even help him win, so. I guess during his upkeep I could have, surgical Infernal Tutor or something, but... So if he brainstorms, sacks LED, maybe he's hoping for... Yeah. He's hoping for Past in Flames here. So if he casts Past in Flames, we can just respond with Surgical on Dark Writ. Or no, we can just Surgical the Infernal Tutor and he can't really kill us after that, actually. So definitely just going to wait to see what he draws off this Brainstorm. I don't think it's worth it to Surgical before it resolves, so... For how dead his hand was most of this game is surprisingly very, very close, so... I don't think that he knows about the Surgical Extraction here. Let's see what he found. Infernal Tutor. Huh. Okay. I'm curious to see what you can grab here. With just 2 red and Underground Sea. I can't really think of anything. Maybe he has a Pyroclasm. That'd be really good, actually. I don't know why it would be in his library, though. Okay. Huh. Infernal Tutor do nothing. Okay. That was just a really strange turn to me. I'm just curious to see what he thinks he can get to survive here. I'm just gonna keep the Surgical in case he tries to go off with something like Past in Flames. I was considering casting it end of turn to get an extra elemental token, but it doesn't speed up the clock at all, so there's just no reason. And you can pass turn here. Leave Deathrite up too, just in case. Being able to remove something with Deathrite and have Surgical up is pretty sick, so. Alright, yeah. Basically, probably got maybe... Yeah, I just don't know what he would get with this Infernal Tutor. I'm not too familiar with, the exact lines of Storm. I know how it operates pretty well, but I just don't know what he could get there to maybe, even that card and then what he could draw after that, to help him win. I guess he was just playing to his outs as much as he could, but finally won a game against Storm. It's definitely a really, really close and tight matchup sometimes, and the only game that we've won so far was the one where he seemed to be stumbling, basically the whole game. We knew his hand the whole game. It was never particularly great. He had to fire off just an empty first 6, while we already had 7 Young Pyromancer tokens. So he's basically behind the entire game. Never got anything going. His draws were really poor. We ended up getting there though, so hopefully we get a good third game here. I think I'm just going to keep the sideboarding the same. Glad we brought in the Engineered Explosives, expecting him to bring in the empties. Nothing else really that we would want to bring in here. All the cards in our sideboard are pretty much garbage in this matchup, so don't want any of those. Bolt's okay. We already have one though, and I don't think it's better than any of the cards that are already in here. So I'm just going to submit this. Hopefully we can cast some Cabal Therapies. That card is so baller in this matchup. as we open up with a Cabal Therapy. I think this hand's a keep. I think that I'm still going to just cast turn 1 Deathrite Shaman off the Delta. But having Force of Will back up, having a Cabal Therapy, Wasteland is actually pretty good in this matchup too, so I'm going to keep. Island Ponder, that is fine. So basically, worst case scenario here is him, you know, playing a Cabal Therapy and then us having to discard both of our Force of Wills, because basically he'll name Force Blind most times anyways, so that would be really bad for us. All right, hold on just a second. Gotta plug in my laptop. All right, sorry about that, but I am back. Okay, so we drew a Delver of Secrets, which is a pretty great draw actually. It applies pressure really fast, but I think here that I want to play the Deathrite Shaman first, just because it gets us pretty far ahead on mana, and not casting Delver lets us have multiple things to pitch to Force of Will. So now we can just cast both Force of Wills. This game is looking pretty fine. Sucks that we don't have another fetch land, because then I would happily, you know, jam the Brainstorm next turn. But might end up doing it anyways, just because there are some really great things that we can find. Here, I'm just going to exit out of this chat. Alright, Ponder number 2. That is A-okay. Yeah, I'm really just only really scared of Therapy here. Everything else we can deal with pretty well. Even just like a Duress is good for sure. Because we'll, like, the best part about Duress here for him is that it lets him know our hand. So like, if you're playing Storm and you know what you have to play around from your opponent, then it's just so much easier to win games. Alright, we drew a Delta, so I think it's pretty fine to just fire off Brainstorm here. Ooh. Got a Daze, got a Ponder, got a Surgical Extraction. Alright. So, there's a lot of different stuff we could do this turn. I think what I want to do is put back Wasteland and Cabal Therapy, and then use this for a blue, and play Delver. So then we have Force, double Force backup, and a Delver, and the Surgical Extraction. It could be okay to like fire off the Therapy blind here, but I just don't think it's that great. I'm not gonna really have to use this fetch land anyways here, so it's pretty safe to just cast the Delver and not shuffle away the Therapy on top. We can just keep it, flip it to the Delver, crack our fetch afterwards. Definitely looking like a pretty good board state here. So alternatively something we could have done is keep the Brainstorm. Oh wait, sorry, no, we didn't have a Brainstorm in our hand. Sorry, but if we had a Brainstorm, like after we had cast this one, then it could have been right to keep the Force of Will on top. Okay, yeah, Duress is totally fine, because we have 2 Force of Wills. To keep the Force of Will on top, keep the Brainstorm in our hand, in case he casts something like Cabal Therapy, then we could Brainstorm, draw the Force of Will back again. Something like that. Just set it up so that it's on top of your library when you have a Brainstorm, as opposed to in your hand, because they play so many discard spells, so. Alright. Delver of Secrets. Yes, I would like to flip. So I'm considering casting the Ponder here, but I almost want to be able to have Daze and Force of Will up. So I think I'm just going to fire off Cabal Therapy here. even though it's blind, there are a lot of good cards that we can name. I think I'm just gonna name Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual, where are you? Oh geez, it's just taken a long while to find this Dark Ritual. So many magic cards ever. If you like misclick once, then it'll just take you years. Oh, we're in the darks. Dark Ritual coming soon. Okay, so it turns out our blind therapy was really good. His hand had 2 Dark Rituals, Duress, Infernal Tutor, Dark Petition. He basically can't cast anything else from his hand now. And we can just start bashing in there with their Delver. So here, I'll just write down his hand real quick. It's Infernal Petition, Duress. And I actually am going to fire off on his draw step the Surgical Extraction on Duress, just so that he can't duress the Force of Will. And then we have Force and Daze back up. Alright, clock's running out a little, so I'm just going to speed this up. Bash in there. Draw step. Surgical Duress. Pay 2 life. Duress is all gone. Okay, so it's saying it's Dark Petition, Infernal Tutor, and Delta. Alright, so yeah, this one is basically over at this point. Picked apart his hand pretty well. Got lucky with our blind therapy. Didn't even have to flash it back for anything. But I just think Dark Ritual is the most powerful card in his deck for going off, so it's just pretty safe to name for the most part. I'm just going to fire off the Ponder here, because our hand is, so good, where I feel like he can't really kill us with what we know about, so dig a little deeper, figure stuff out. Alright, so we know his hand, so it's fine to pitch like Probe to this Force. So I'm just going to put it Ponder, click, Probe, but not like to shuffle. He played the Delta, so just Infernal Tutor, Dark Petition is his hand, and I can remember that. Ooh, yeah, I'm actually going to just counter that. It's pretty lucky to have the Pyroblast here, because the best cards that you can draw when his hand are really bad are blue. They're Brainstorm, they're Ponder, they're Preordain, something like that. Something to help him sculpt to make his hand better. So having the Pyroblast backup is just super valuable. And even though with the play that we just made, having lethal is like a little bit more difficult, but luckily we actually just have Vindling Click, so we can attack him for 3, put him at 8. On his draw step, we can cast Click with 2 counterspells backup, and we'll probably just let him keep his hand, assuming everything goes well. I can't imagine there's a card that he would draw that we would want to give him a redraw for, so having click here is actually pretty useful too. Shadow blue doesn't really matter what we add because we have a bunch of blue sources. Cast click. Have lethal here, as well as 2 counter spells. And I'm not going to put anything on the bottom because we have the daze. Drew another land, so not really anything you can find. Just going to crack both of his fetches, cast Dark Magician. It's going to get dazed, and that will be the game. So this matchup definitely isn't as favorable as I thought it was. The games have been super close, but we've been losing them a lot. And I think that is because, 1, Caleb's a really good pilot, and 2, it's really hard to play against Storm. There's just a lot of, small decisions where they could really go either way. And I think that in the matches that I just played, they tended to not go my way, which can definitely happen. I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's variance. I played perfectly and lost because he got super lucky. I don't think that's at all what happened. I think that what happened was there were a couple close decisions. I ended up making a pretty poor one, and that's why we lost a couple of those other matches. But yeah, this one ended up going our way. I think that the biggest turn of this game was when I decided to cast the Cabal Therapy and named Dark Ritual, just because, as I said before, Dark Ritual is the single most powerful card in the deck. It helps him just go off super fast. 1 black for 3 mana is just a super, super powerful effect. So just being able to stop that as much as possible is super powerful. So I'm pretty happy with the Cabal Therapy name. It ended up being fortunate that he had 2.